Mame fa na say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there osia dem yopo
market space. So about saying a government budget the responsibility say ene on the be determine prices of your first cement no na say for no. But the good question I can say, let us assume without admitting that government will be successful in his quest or bid to have this legislation passed, and henceforth, government and the bid determine cement prices am I. The question is, or China say iron rods bulk of sugar. Are we going to have another legislation? Or China sugar? You see, it doesn't make sense. That is why I've been telling you that these people not always approach be a far to resolve issue be any was a far crime western pass on. You see, some of these things are cement boy cost over the years of what they are campaigning as if they are driven by market forces. And you know very well, sir. Most of the near man idea cement no more clever one thing, and they pay in dollars. So as long as government is unable to control the dollar, and the fact is that inflation, these are market forces. It is out of everybody's control. The only thing they bit me control these forces has to do with competence about bit me show in them and in the efficient management of our economy. As I say, all the economic indicators, everything are off bar, and government is not worried or not interested in say or try to remedy the situation by ensuring say you bet me put to give the economy a certain face value then we are adopting a more radical approach by ensuring say the legislation and he's even seeking to threaten say overturn cement now will go beyond a certain price them. That is how silly the situation has become. You see, companies no more cement kromano. And today it's very easy for some of these companies to move their plant away from this country, because in recent time we saw say a lot of these companies moved away from Ghana. Now no me catch about team where I am from in Krabremi Besine Lepton. And the plants and almost the cost of production in Ghana are very high. So they've moved everything, they've gone to Nigeria. And now on social media, I mentioned a number of Nivea, they've moved away, and there are several other companies that move away from this country because of high cost of production. Now, no more food, just say glucose and wine. They've gone out, and there are several of them who move away. Because the oil and gas sector, most of them are even hesitant. And you know, these are symptoms of a systemic economic failure. Our government need to avail his mind to and try say a final lasting solution. I bet me address these challenges. But when you think that you can bully your way by putting a legislation or parliament, because parliament today is so easy to get your way. That's a way they go through. These producers have the option either to move their production plant away from Ghana to other countries. That will create cement shortage in this country. And a basa government na bed in the other also. So the best thing we can do, and they say, you bet me subsidize it, and our government bet me find a way of making sure say, and near mana, the year, you mano, subsidy, and I bet you more certain price stability. Yet a chroma no less about one thing. So we have a number of companies that could afford to buy granted tax waiver to them. Now here owners of these companies and the number for the Nigeria for ya or more your friend saying as antibody to a way sa abusia for the family and friends and yes tax waiver at the moment in the end no now you over billions of dollars and they tax waiver. But these are production hobby. These are profit-oriented business. I am not holding brief for them. I understand and I recognize the fact to say, because of the situation, some of these companies, almost who didn't cheat amount for because no cost shop. They are 5 cities. Over 20 cities. nobody is offering you any sensible explanation. And obi to obi dem or no what me that's what to price in monkwasi so without recourse to anything. Obisa na say dem abo my. That is the situation I get to home. And I think that we need to find a way of making sure that people do not have the luxury to do some of this nasty stuff I also. But you see, I say papa utifie na umma ebo brabone. And don't just start by say ebo brabone. There must be ade be faili wo fie ho. Either parenthood be faili, fatherhood be faili, and as a motherhood be faili, and as a gross irresponsibility be occasion within the family setup. And the man cry away wayward. So whenever you see kid going wayward, don't start by blaming them, because by your move free banner and they create that particular situation. So when you see prices of goods and services going up this way, it's just a fundamental, the economy will be a mismanaging, and it's a fact. We see about things as here now quite a track record and as a for Bank of Ghana cry around a boca de beam. Bank of Ghana, ya printing press around a boca. A creating inflation, a record high over 54 to 57 inflation numbers and a year. Yesika at performance. So say OPM manufacture cement. You need to sit down and do the cost analysis. Now arrival at a dear bank and a cement in the poor air cost. And as a government, can we do something to remedy the situation? These are some of the legitimate conversations you need to engage them, the sector players, Now, you can meet them halfway by ensuring, okay, these are some of the measures that they go a more. A bit in prices now skyrocket, a form. But if you decide to adopt this radical approach by ensuring that so the question is, let's say you're subsidy, you're regulating cement prices are buying the control prices. The government will have to regulate everything, including taxi fare, Uber and as a phone. Buying will have to regulate. But because government and I are so responsible to own the oil and own the oil start free. Because I told you the last time I went to a television station, some program, may call me say me Uber, now 50 cities. By the time I marry a me banner, they since we pete. Now I don't know 50 cities, I grow to over 1.8 Ghana cities. Akaka na 2 million, and you come and make Accra haya. Now then you will ask yourself, say, based on what indicators, and are these companies agent so at the 2 money boom. And somebody can just sit the office and say, oh, in Suamuna, traffic be krumtino, yamfa. Such nonsense. That is what is happening in this country. What is will become that? Because managers and those running this country, cement there's just to create impression, say they care, but trust me, they don't care. Because say you're going to elections, so we jam price no cost right because cement and I'm cement and 15 cities, and then one Jidida say yeah, the 100 Ghana and over a better cement Kroma. Under a regime, they promised Ghanaians that they are more and they are there. These are the realities that end up pinning the current economic situation in Ghana for home. The expectation is a government will rise to occasion and offer prudent and efficient leadership. Other market forces na ego haywire no. Atimi ejina the nine so. Now, it may stabilize prices because you cannot control virtually everything. You can't. Especially when these players have an option. Because most of them some of them are foreign-owned enterprises. Are setting up doing manufacturing. And this will not be the first time we've seen a lot of them moving away from Ghana. Because the here is a market conditions as for the prevailing So the approach by government, isn't the way. First, look around you. You have failed the people. All the economic indicators, all the statistics, everything. So, said the government cannot control everything. or mine a better free some and a bit create agitation and whole lot of stuff, a bit create artificial shortage. Obekaya in the past, a man for 1 year man or more hoard. Says Yamanoka said, Matisse cement a short to Ghana. Because government doesn't want them to sell at the prices on more panel, and they are not willing to let it go at the price almost on the boca. And the justification has always been said, dollar no, and it's a fact. So the question is, government now will share man for kutupa say, or monty or money masono. What have you done about the dollar? Cement asotia me money better a boame. But you see, you can't bully people in a free economy, in the free market space. And yet, adia, yes, so Sunday man so baby. Make sure say, oh, they will name what's in or near mama, everything. And logically, you know, oh, Hannah name be okay, that's a amount to talk on prices in my answer, then you can move into intervene, and there will be in whoever so. Because most of these companies over the years and I take advantage, make a Uber, your friends, and your Uber, a boat, or something, make a boat company. Omo would design class in so many as a charge them quasiaso. I become Kruno, Omo who's a Kruno penny in him. So everybody can just come and exploit people and get away with it. These are some of the basic things, and they here they will not avail their mind to because when himself with the boat in the Uber, some making nobody's complaining and to about cement, you know, about for a determine electoral choices and as a form. And you know, you buy your why be approach a day church of mine. Ultimately, who say, Obiam and Yanadins or Yad the Papa Bia. The yebe ye vote in as a form, and I didn't say ye. Because market forces, and as I see, I tell who to see I determine some of these prices. Just tell me, say, when the way that ye, your friend say, when the way that ye, dollar ye, inflation, ye, where ye say to a send near my boy ever from. Is it? No, it isn't. And now at the government level now, you expect to say people will live moderate life as a be. About me inspire the ordinary person. So I set a half toss or so. Crufu or moti enemy. Or monsoon at least, or more tight or more belt. I say President belt and Jensen or belt hose who cry him no tighting. A guninase and on no didn't say. Now say a coba. Then we play this kind of game when the actual and the real problem you and I lose the state and nobody's willing to do a thing about it. So the ever cost you know the day may not ever suffer because government ever money too so and the manufacturers will also revolt and I've know the day no wow cement and then as a for no better or more diamond hands over catch us cement work or even though Dan was yes what it be cool boo but oba baby got chrono and brand nim obiaya the ope. And that is the actual problem as people. So my argument has always been said, young people, we need to be actively involved in this political discourse here. Because we cannot just leave the discussion and the narrative to people within the traditional media. Some of them are just kissing the asses of those in power just for their personal gains and whatever. No? Let us activate a conversation and even a space. Now you're making sure say we push for what is right. Irrespective of how you stand across the political divide, no, making sure say your voice is very critical, a very determinant factor. Now vote na yet to know. Men fan konko check because and then maybe you will meet for mu. You need to set one kasa way. Certain indicators be able to say blue box no what take it and whoever you're voting for no really no meet those specifications. So nipa no next time okodu no nya tumi na or atia or bedwene ho de nyansa to ho say no, the people who voted for me are rational people and I can't just take them for granted. Okay, they see UK and Raya. The Conservative Party has been in power for over 14 years because David Cameron since in 2010 and they've since been in power. Near more 1 year, a bit time. Scandals upon scandal. Obekaya started with David Cameron, Emma Theresa May by Boris Johnson by Queen Babedi 2 weeks. Obano Emma on be good and you must say a coy. Enna, you have India ni back home. And so her circumstances are a resignation, the embarrassment, na se for na to so babesi and finally people of UK have realized that no Nkrofo way cannot take us for granted anymore. If you had the electoral outcome now, and yes, mulusu kekeo, a baptism of fire, like a red card, and nobody show the Conservative Party and the Labour Party are taking over. That showed the power of the people, because they got like being in power for 14 years, you feel like it's safe. Because 14 years they have arrived, nothing was solidify opposition. You become unshakable. Your faith in the fact that the people maintain you becomes unwavering. But people realize say no, these people are taking us for granted, and we cannot continue to will our faith to them and watch them to mess up. Because living conditions as for Ghana and by UK in recent times, you and I know and people have been complaining. Mortgages and as for Sika rent, it's not easy. And then I normally with a for the UK mortgage, because much of your money will go into taxes and a whole lot of stuff. Living conditions, everything are high. And Nipano have realized, this is the time for us to vote for change. 14 years, that is enough. We've seen enough. We need to vote for change. It will force people to sit up, because politicians are such that give you room, painting an impression or a picture that everything is okay. Trust me, they will take you for granted. And it's exactly the circumstances that play out in this country. Because yes, say go ahead, the extraordinary circumstances here where you want to see you go so restructure your debt. Now because and people are happy to announce to everybody, as if say everybody in the country is a fool. Say can money. That is the kind of impression they are creating, telling people say they are better managers, not because they've managed the economy well, but because they've been able to push yaka and as for baby, and everything is okay. They think we are fools. And we are living as such. So at the end of the day, they will continue, they will be emboldened to do whatever they are doing. And Kabesi is saying, Kababi Babidru and they, we had the cost of living, how much are buying spending and as a form, Baby, a genus CIA, are buying back. I said, or appointed 5 new judges, knowing very well, over the years, my character said, we haven't even gone past the offense of 14. More or less, it has become like an established convention. Making sure that you're regulated, because my country as a constitutional framework is not arm facile until, because they envisage the possibility of not ever getting a fool to become president who come and exercise negative discretion by a nema ever go haywire. They assume say will be president to be any nyansa and will act accordingly. But that isn't the case. Despite your 14 year, Chema 15, as a boom. Sisi amonoka say ya pass it to or monam we ni mo ba akasa mbeko parliament ombeka ho a yenya 17 ena na na Akufo-Addo na chief justice asan ka bom say yan san fa 5 mepi so asa sa 5 ni be pi so a na ye ko 22 no na oko US now ye kasa o Supreme Court ye 9 yes it's a federal state a some of the federal way na Obia or the Supreme Court now, but it doesn't change the fact to say the US Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of the United States of America. That is the federal at the federal level. It doesn't change anything. Whether at the state level, no, they have their Supreme Court. We all know, because that is a federal system or more pretty. But it doesn't change the fact to say at the US Supreme Court there are 9 judges. And then Marabia who are a convention abetoho more established over 164 years, 66 years in year. Because say that particular way now young go beyond 9, no. It traces back to 1860. It traces back to 1860. I can't over 30 something years, not 200 years. More or less like an established conventional president Biaba or respected that. Why can't we do the same thing? Say even 14 Ukraine, yes, So my culture say human behavior anya da bia na yebekwa kwasesa mrade achechire ye ho. Sometimes we need to act rationally and voluntarily. Enya mra bi na achechire ye, and that is the sense that the constitutional framework saw, because most of the judicial space, you know, likely in the future to expand. So the limit koto so say mon fa judge say ya ebedu ba bi na circumstances, you know, change ya. You might have difficulties in adding numbers. That is why they didn't provide ceiling. But we need to act rationally in ensuring that we don't abuse those powers.
PENDREAM TV. Now, so far so good. Say open online portal le Ghana. Nipa share, nipa follow, nipa comment here. To my best of knowledge, without any biases, PENDREAM TV.